Welcome to Talking Straight on Nationalist Hub. I'm Suresh Kochatal. What does the Russian annexation of the 4 regions mean for Ukraine? Vladimir Putin has signed an accord to annex the occupied regions after declaring that Russia would never give them up and would defend them with all the means available. The question being asked is Russia going back to being the old USSR, taking back one region at a time? With 2 of the eastern regions, Luhansk and Donetsk, already in the bag at the start of the war, Russia has now annexed Zaporizhzhia and Kherson in the south. All the 4 regions are under Russian occupation, and to make it look very democratic, a referendum was held recently. By the international community, there was huge condemnation, calling it a sham. Putin does not bother about international opinion, nor does he care. Before the February invasion, Russia recognized the entirety of the 2 eastern regions as independent People's Republic, and now Moscow will define them as Russian territory. By annexing the eastern regions, Moscow will be able to send its newly mobilized troops to the front lines that is said to be more than 1,000 kilometers long. Putin can also threaten the West if it continues to arm Ukraine with missiles and used again what he tabled as Russian territory. Now it's a game of bluff. What President Putin did now is similar to what he did in March 2014 when Moscow seized Crimea, the region from Ukraine, and then calling it a referendum that was widely again condemned by the international community. Putin went ahead and annexed Crimea, using the same modus operandi, using exactly the same constitutional process that he called it, culminating in a word for Russia's supportive parliament. Unlike what's happening in Ukraine, Crimea was seized with little bloodshed and quickly came under the Russian control. By varying degrees, all 4 regions are now being annexed are still partially in Ukrainian hands. Together, they make up 15% of Ukrainian sovereign territory. Along with Crimea, Russia now lays claim and controls a large part of around 20% of Ukraine, some of them bigger than the European countries. 2 of the established regions have already been partly held by Russia-backed separatists since 2014. But after 7 months of war, only 60% of Donetsk can be claimed rightfully by Russia. And now Luhansk is at the center of a major Ukrainian counteroffensive. Zaporizhzhia's regional capital is said to be Ukrainian-run, although within the reach of Russian missiles. Ukrainian forces are said to be a few miles from the city of Kherson. Russia controls most of Luhansk and Kherson regions and about 60% of Donetsk and a large chunk of Zaporizhzhia, where it took control of Europe's largest nuclear power plant. Biden and his European counterpart are at a loss. All the high-pitched sanctions and the narrative peddled by the pliable Western media, which has been singing the Ukrainian tune, have made little difference to Putin. President Zelensky has hit back at the Russian annexation moves by seeking to accelerate his membership of NATO. But there's very little that Zelensky can do now. The West, especially the UK and Germany, are now badly hit by soaring energy prices and skyrocketing inflation. US is also not in great shape financially. For Zelensky, getting a NATO membership seems to be a priority for now. At the start of the war, the Ukrainian president had announced that he would stop pushing for NATO membership of the NATO, that is a 30-strong Western defensive alliance. Zelensky knows, however, that he will have to persuade every member of the state NATO to agree, and one country, Turkey, is unlikely to agree. How dangerous is this moment? Nobody really knows now what is happening in the Russian leader's mindset. But his anti-Western rhetoric has clearly reached a new level. Putin wants the West to understand that Moscow views attacks on the occupied regions of Ukraine as an attack on Russia itself. For Zelensky, the war is not going anywhere. Despite the huge amount of money and military hardware that is being pumped in by the US and its allies, the former comedian is looking at a bleak future. Ukraine, or whatever is left of it, is in ruins now, and it will take a few decades to build back a semblance of the industrial and natural resources powerhouse that it once was. The patience of Joe Biden and the European nations are wearing thin. and they cannot be seen to bankroll a war that is not going anywhere. Let we watch what will happen in the days to come. Till then, let's stay focused. Thank you for watching.
Please subscribe to Nationalist Hub English channel for more interesting videos, and don't forget to like and share this video. Nationalist Hub, it's a news revolution.